Hello everyone. So this is the second video of the video series of chess opening theories. In this video we are going to see about the Scotch opening from white and black side both. What are the correct theoretical lines and what is being played at the higher levels the most. So this we are going to discuss with the help of four different variations. So now let's look at the first variation. So the first variation starts with the move pawn to e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, pawn d4, e d4, knight takes d4, then knight to f6, knight c3, bishop to b4, pinning the knight. So knight takes c6 first, then b takes c6, bishop to d3 because this pawn was hanging. So then pawn to d5, then pawn takes, then castling by both the sides, then bishop to g5, pawn to c6, queen to f3, bishop to e7, rook a e1, and rook to e8. This is a very standard stuff, and like this game would go in any direction. Currently this is equal for both. There is not so much happening, but as you can see, like black has this little bit of the weakness of the c6 that white can try to target, and white's pieces are well developed. Later the black have the plans to develop this bishop maybe on the g4, and white have the plans to reroute this knight somewhere. Okay, and as you can see, black has the more influence towards the center. So this opening, as you can see, this line can be played from both the sides equally, and like hundreds of games have been played from here. Okay, so now let's go back and now let's look at the second variation from the Scotch line. So second variation is e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, pawn to d4, pawn takes, knight takes, and here the move is after knight to f6. Here we have discussed the move knight to c3 in the previous slide. So here instead of going knight c3, white can directly go knight takes knight, then pawn takes, then pawn to e5 attacking the knight, then let's say queen to e7 pinning the pawn. So queen e2, then knight to d5, pawn c4, bishop a6, so pinning this pawn. So that's why this pawn cannot take the knight, or else white will just lose the queen. Then pawn to b3, then pawn g5. So the idea you will see soon. So bishop a3 attacking the queen. So pawn d6, pawn takes, then queen takes, bishop takes, and bishop to g7. And here is the game from this line, like that was played between Anand and Kasparov in around 1995. So like here the game have been like went from here, like currently so this position is equal for both the sides. So as it is white to move, here the game continued was pawn takes knight, then bishop takes, king takes, and then bishop takes a1, and from there game went on, and actually it ended in a draw. But it is a little bit of the complex line compared to the previous one, but still there are many chances, and if you are tactically a good player, so it would be a good line for you to go into it from white or black side both. Okay, so now let's look at the third variation. Okay, so let's go back. So third variation is pawn to e4, e5, knight f3, knight to c6, pawn d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, and in the third variation the move is bishop to c5. Okay, so from here the continuation is bishop to e3. There is another option as well, like here knight can go back to b3 as well, attacking the bishop, but then just bishop will go back. And there is another variation which we will discuss later, that is knight to f5 variation. So here the move is bishop e3, queen f6, then pawn to c3, knight g e7, bishop to c4, knight e5, bishop e2 back, queen g6, castles, then pawn d6, f3, castles, then king to h1. The thing is black is threatening for this bishop h3 idea, so that's why, and queen is also there in the line, so just unpinning this pawn, so white is just moving the king away. Then pawn to d5, knight to d2, so white has developed all his pieces. So from here anything, like even if pawn takes, then white can take back with the pawn, and this position is equal, playable from both the sides. Although white's pieces are all developed, but you can see like they are all little in white's own territory only. Instead, black has only three pieces developed, but black can develop this bishop anyway. But this line is playable from both the sides. Now this rook is also open from the white, so these are the plus and minuses from both the sides. And you can play this if you are a Scotch player. You can definitely try this line. It's actually interesting one. Okay. Now let's look at the last, that is the fourth variation. So the fourth variation starts with pawn to e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, pawn d4, pawn takes, knight takes, and as I have told you in the bishop c5 line only, there is a move knight to f5. So here the move is pawn to d6. Here black is giving away his pawn and also the castling at the same time. Okay, but see what he is getting in the return. So king f8, knight back to h5, queen h4, and you can already see that the development for white is development for black is huge. He has already developed three pieces, white has only developed one. So now knight back to g3 to save the f2 pawn, and also to bring the knight back because it was a little bit dangerous over there. So knight f6 by black, so fourth piece is coming into the game. So bishop e2, knight e5, knight to c3, knight eg4. So here white should go for bishop takes, then knight takes, and here this position is, although it is equal, but as you can already see, it is very dynamic. And from here, if you will talk about the black, then black has lost one pawn and castling, but in return has got a huge attack that is coming up. So if you are an aggressive player, so you can try this opening from the black side, and it will be very much helpful for you. Okay, and for white, the white only has to do one thing, like he has to try to defend it here. If white defends it perfectly, then there are very high chances that the game will go into the white's favor, although currently anything could happen from any side. Okay, so these were the four variations about the Scotch. Hope you have enjoyed this video. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more such videos.